Hey everyone, it's Hornby here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And I figured it was time to add another video in my attempt at comedy here playlist. And I might give a little disclaimer here for AAC number 7. I call it Broken English Memories, and what I mean about that is, I take kudos. I only speak one language, and that's English, obviously, here, and I understand that English is one of the hardest languages to learn here, and it definitely wasn't one of my strong subjects in school there, and it's just interpreting short stories and poetry and all that stuff that makes English flow, and same with grammar and that, and I can only imagine what it'd be like to learn another language here, and it seems like we all, as human beings, have a tendency to make fun of something different, and people laugh at me when I try to pronounce words or sentences in their language and in my own accent here, and this is what this video is about, is my broken English memories here. And there's actually terms online that define broken English as, people who talk English but it doesn't grammatically come out, or another way to say it, lost in translation. And even Google Translate, when I just curious how to say this in this language, and I type it in and I look it out, I'm like, that doesn't flow. But these are just my memories of what I've encountered over time in life, and I'll try to, say their tone and accent, and some of them were just quite funny, and others I kind of politely corrected and said this is what we say, but others were just too damn funny, and I've been laughed at for what I say and how I say it in their language, so it's fair game here. But first, before I go into my memories here, Wikipedia is definitely the website to go if you want to research something here, and there is actually some hits when you type in broken English. There's various forms where broken English is used, let's say like in albums or literature here, but that's not what we're talking about, and so my attempt at comedy here is that how it's defined as broken English is a non-traditionally spoken or alternatively written version of the English language, sometimes considered as a Pidgrin, and that's where you talk about the lost in translation and how things just grammatically doesn't flow. And then under the strictest definition of the term, broken English consists of English vocabulary grafted onto the syntax of the non-English speaker's native language, including word order, other aspects of sentence structure, and the presence of the absence of articles in the speaker's native language. Typically, the non-English speaker, which this is why I say it's usually someone who's not familiar with the English language, also strips English phrases in linguistic markings that are definitive articles or certain verb tenses, and that's the first paragraph that Wikipedia talks about broken English. It's just, I definitely admire the people who can speak more than one language, and kudos to them, especially, if I were to learn another language, I think I'd be a lot more successful, in a certain sense, to learn French or Spanish, because at least in those three languages, with English, French, and Spanish, phonetically, it's the same. The letters are the same, it's just how it's pronounced. However, I think I have a heck of a time if I were to go back to my bloodlines, because I do claim some creating bloodlines, and it's based on the Russian language, and I looked into their alphabet, and they have more characters, and they have characters for like that like chop or oo as an ooze, but I definitely can imagine what it'd be like if you were to learn another language with a totally different character set, and definitely this also goes back to it's an Asian stereotype as well, or Indian stereotype with broken English. But there's another term that was coined, if you go on Wikipedia, is actually called Chinglish, Chinglas each, as kind of the combination of matching Chinese and English put together here. But if you go on the Chinglish page on Wikipedia here, as of this recording, you get it shows you a sign. And this sign, first it has the letters in their Chinese, characters, which I understand in some cases, they represent an entire word. But below, it has the English translation here. And this is what it says. Lightning prone area. Please do not climbing. I mean, that definitely sounds broken English right there. So yeah, I mean, that's just my disclaimer, and I definitely have some stuff backing up that that's a such thing. And the other debate is this only exclusive to English? I mean, is there such thing as broken French, or broken Spanish, or broken Russian, broken Chinese? As I mentioned, going back to Google Translate, I type in the English phrase or whatever, or if I go on a website that I encounter a foreign language and I would like it converted or translated to English, so I know what it says, and I read through it, and I'm thinking, yeah, it doesn't flow. And even though I struggled in English in grade school and did just enough to pass, I mean, it's just the whole structure thing. And I tried. So I give my kudos to all the English teachers that never gave up on me. But these are just my memories of broken English, as I try to go over a disclaimer and have stuff to back it up here. But this always comes with the stereotypical Asian, or go to a regular business, or you go to regular business at a certain time, and you get the rapport with the lady. It always seems to be a lady, especially in a cleaning area like a laundromat or dry cleaner. And then if she notices she doesn't see you on this day at this time, she always gets to ask you the question like, how come you no come yesterday? I no see you. I mean, that's definitely, what she's saying, but it's just like, me no see you. And I know the other classic bit in comedy is, me so sorry. I mean, that definitely, it is what it is. I mean, they know that me, I'm sorry. But, I always seems to be the classic, for that, or some even make fun and they just say like, so sorry, me mistake. I mean, I've heard that too, and I butcher things that I try to say, or at least try to point to it, but there seems to be that, and that's kind of part of that Chinglish here. But I also worked with, people with East Indian descent here, and but this wasn't with the people I worked with, but I used to work at a movie theater, an independent movie theater back in the day that's no longer around here in Calgary. It was called Movie Dome, and it's in the Pacific Place Mall there, or it used to be the Franklin Mall. If you go back there, and now it's like a Fit for Less and a sushi place there. And one of the things that we did is we had East Indian owners, and they had East Indian films there, and I picked up on some of their culture and what they liked, and sometimes I hear their music, and a lot of their music was about love and dancing, and they were nice enough to translate it for me. But you can't smoke in the theater. So the craziest thing to do is, if you must smoke in a movie, you go outside and smoke. And then this person, who was an East Indian guy, he went out to smoke. And then he banged on the door to come back in, because he had to go in the back way at this theater. He showed me a stub, and it took every ounce of energy out of me. I know what he was saying, but it took every ounce of energy out of me to just not laugh at him, because I'm afraid that if I laughed at him, he would complain. But he showed me his stub, and then he just said, I went out to smoke. That's exactly what he said, and it definitely sounded a very harsh voice because I went out to smoke. I mean, it gets funnier when you think about it. I mean, thank you for going outside to smoke. And yes, you pay for your movie and you show them your stub there, but oh god. It took a lot out of me to not laugh at him. I mean, it's fair game if I try to say their movie titles, and some people I got a kick out of it. I try to say it, and they look at me laughing like that's how I read it. I mean, it's fair game. I had it on both ends, but that's up, and that happened like almost 20 years ago. I mean, I don't recognize the guy. Who knows if he's still around, especially if he smokes, and he was an older guy. But man, that's a new classic. I went out to smoke. Now, these are, just in general here, but if it's someone you work with, and I remember there was another East City guy, and I work in the engineering planning industry. This happened well over 10 years ago, but I still kind of laughed when he first said it, but then I politely corrected him and said, actually, generally, this is what we say. But he was someone that I worked with, and, I try to interpret if it's an engineer or superior designer, and I was still a blower early in my career. I mean, I still definitely design and draft, but I was definitely more of a drafter. First starting out, and I was giving, calling markups and do the drawing on the computer in AutoCAD here, and I did all I could, what I could make out here, and I gave him the new printed drawing, and after there was a few times because of language barrier, he was still fairly new, and when you work with someone, you gotta figure out their writing, and they're still there. But after going over more corrections when it was cleaned up, he just looked at the drawing and said, "It's more good." Kind of chuckled a little and said, "I never heard of more good." I just said, then I politely said, "It's actually generally much better is more effective." But I like how he just maybe when we still work together, he kind of joked about it. A few times as he understood it and had fun with it. He's like, I was like, yeah, these drawings are more good now. But no, I mean, definitely kudos to being able to learn another language, especially if you come from a totally different culture, country, and that there. But I mean, those are my big broken English memories there. But I still think the funniest one is the I went out to smoke guy. I mean, he showed me his stub to show me that he paid for his movie. Yes, thank you for going outside to smoke, and I let you back in to go back to your movie as you paid for it, and thanks for your patronage and all of that. Especially if you bought some goodies at the concession stand. But I got lots of goodies with that memory of the I went out to smoke. But I mean, it's just my attempt at comedy here, and I mean, if I ever don't think I ever would be a stand-up comedian here, but that's material that I'll have in my repertoire and in my material that it's exclusive to me. That maybe someone else could pick it up, but yeah, I mean, I definitely put a lot more thought in doing this attempt at comedy here because I feel it's you need to put a little more work in to try to be more funny and try to not. Sometimes it feels like walking on eggshells, but comedy is kind of supposed to be pushing out limits a little here. But as much as I have these memories and find it funny, and as I mentioned, the coworker, we had fun with it too, as we accomplished the same goal. But I had it on my end too. It still happens today when I ask someone that has a different culture heritage to me and say what's that or what they're eating, and I hear what they said and I try to say what they said, and then suddenly they laugh like, "Oh God, that's funny," because I butchered it. But it's just different accents and different languages, and as they say, even though French, English, Spanish, phonetically the letters are all the same, and I know my parents have also taken Spanish classes because they go on a lot of cruises and go on other parts of the country, especially or other parts of the world, especially in Cuba, where on Espanol is their language, and try to interact more, and you definitely hear that different tone in the voice, English or Spanish or French, and that's the thing. I never actually took French in school because with a learning disability growing up, I actually wasn't taking French classes in elementary, and I probably would have had two classes that would have beaten me up because if I had a difficult time in English, I mean, I had to work harder to get a 50% in English. Then somebody gets a 90% in English because it's one of those things that you just don't acquire. It's like you just have it, and it's like I kind of resonate with someone when I said that I struggle with it too, and it's my only language. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely lots of stuff on Wikipedia that talks about different variations of English. But I find some of these memories funny. But you know what? I probably made a lot of memories to other people on how I tried to say their things. So it's fair game here. So anyway, if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, just make sure you hit like, subscribe. This is one of the minor things I do on my channel. The bigger things I do is talk Calgary sports, recap Calgary sports, and do more personal vlogs and attempt to comedy. But I also share moments at sporting events and senior videos, and I might even throw in a little political video take on what happened, and just trying to appeal to a few more people and maybe get a few more subscribers here. But so yeah, I mean, this definitely gives me a creative outlet, and share my experiences, including what people say, and including the I went out to smoke guy. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely fun to do this, and definitely fun to see other people share their experiences on here too. So of course, hit like, subscribe, and follow along. Hit that bell icon to be notified as soon as this guy posts some new content here. And as I always say, I'll see you in the next video, and this is just my attempt at comedy, and sometimes you gotta lighten things up a little here. So I'll see you in the next video.